All right, good evening. I'd like to call this September 16, 2020 meeting of the Citizens Advisory Committee on Policing Policies to order. We are all, several of us are present. We have an agenda this evening where we're going to go over, we're going to finalize the report and presentation to be made to council, at council rather, on Monday. So I note here that several people are present. Paul Miller, Leah Lawson, Councilwoman Berry, Neil Gould, Ron Collier, Sherry Sachs, Joe Homan, Adrian, whose last name I'm blanking on at the moment.
Harden.
Right, thank you. Excuse me. Adrian Harden. Sean Weiss.
Harden.
Yes.
Yeah.
Harden. Yes. Dr. Vincent Stafford, Indira Gatlin, Chief Rogers, Crystal Pickus, Josh Hunt. I see Ann Botsko, but I'm guessing that is McCarter, although maybe Ann Botsko is also on the line. Lieutenant McCarter, Mark McCarter is here, Odesha Blue, and Sean Weiss. Anybody whose name I didn't mention?
My name is Vincent Stokes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think I called you Stafford, didn't I? I'm sorry. Dr. Vincent Stokes is here.
It's cool.
Sorry about that. If you knew who Vincent Stafford was, I didn't mean to do that. He's an attorney here in town, and if I said his name instead of your name, that I don't know how I came up with that. My apologies. So, all right. So I know that when we met last time, the subcommittees were going to go over and finish up what they were going to do. We have you on the agenda for Monday as the first item on the council agenda. Brevity to keep things moving, stick to the high points would probably be best. It is going to be a long agenda that evening, so I would encourage subcommittees to spend no more than 2 or 3 minutes on what they're going to talk about. I do want to encourage representatives from the different subcommittees, however, to present when it comes to highlights and you know what the main thrust then of what you found. That's appropriate to convey, and then anything further you want to submit in a written report is excellent. So where shall we begin?
Perhaps with a general idea of how we're going to present to the council.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. What I think we would be doing is we would when the actual agenda comes out, what you'll see is the.
Bill, do you want to cook or no?
I'm sorry. Oh, okay.
I'll cook for you if you want.
I apologize. I was asking my husband if he was going to cook dinner. I am so sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
You can cook for all of us.
My wife has come to expect that I bring home Geraces after these citizen committee meetings, and apparently the gauntlet's been put, and I've been reminded that I better come home with pizza after this meeting. And salad. I was told not to forget the salad. All right. So when we have our council meetings, if you haven't attended one, that's all right. But we're doing them right now by Zoom, just like this. The Zoom link is on the City Council page of the website. For the agenda, what we do is we call the roll. We excuse anybody who isn't available to be there. Usually, we accept the minutes from the previous meeting. We accept public comment from anybody who wants to address the city on any issue, up to 5 minutes. I give a report as the mayor, going over, whatever I want to report on as far as things I've done as mayor, taking of action, etc. And then we turn to the regular agenda, and that is when first item will be this report. So my suggestion then is that while all of you could be there, if we have a list of who's presenting on behalf of which subcommittee, and then each of you could have the floor for 2 to 3 minutes to talk about your findings. If one of you wants to make a kind of a brief overall statement, that would be fine too, or we can just jump right into the subcommittee meetings. I can lead and say, for instance, that, or Councilwoman Berry could, to say that in the review, we end up dividing into 6 subgroups, and each subgroup is going to give a very brief report, and a representative of each group will be presenting, and then the 6 of you will take your turns. And then I will thank you for your service, and that we will take these under advisement, and as we reform our policy, we will consider what's been said here.
Hey, do you want something written from each subcommittee to you?
That would be good for the record. But certainly we have the items that were also generated in the Google Drive. But if there's something more formal you want to submit, that is welcome. At the same time, simply giving an oral presentation that makes your recommendations, by doing it at council, it becomes part of the meeting record there. So it is part of the record, but my feeling is if, depending on how in-depth you want to be, we don't want, we have other business to attend to at that meeting. So my thought is if you write a few things, that's great. And if we have a written report from each subcommittee, and then we call that, the report based on the 6 working groups, that's fine. And then, we can incorporate that as part of the record. Make sense?
Okay, I will have to tell you what's on my mind.
Sure.
When you said 2 or 3 minutes, I'm not presenting either one of those committees I'm on. We met for, I don't know, how long? 6 weeks?
Oh, yeah.
Spent a lot of time, and it seems to me we're getting shortchanged.
Well, I don't mean to
maybe the people who are doing it can consolidate it into the 2 or 3 minutes. I'm not sure if they can or not, but so I don't want to speak for them.
Well, if all 6 went 5 minutes, that's half an hour, and I don't think that's too much, but I wouldn't want to go more than that. And if we aren't able to convey those things, I'm open to suggestions. If it would be more appropriate to have a special meeting, but it may also be that I don't know. Let's hear from the different subs. Paul, you said let's hear from the presenters. If you're intending to present at this meeting, let's see. Patty, is Patty here? Patty's not here, because I think Patty was going to present on use of force. So Mike Sears, I think, on reporting, although Mike's not here either. Joe, you're here. You were going to present on non-lethal weapons. How much time do you need?
So I chatted in. I don't think I'd want more than 3 minutes. I think the slides that we compiled with the high level overview would probably be good, especially if we provide those links for the citizens who want to go into more depth or want to see the thinking and rationale behind that.
Okay.
Like you said, even if we went 5 minutes on each subcommittee, that's a half hour. So
Okay.
I think that's adequate for the high level, especially when we have separate documents that outline the specific recommendations.
Okay. And
They're going to be asking questions of our presentation.
it's possible that they would have questions. I think we could open up for questions at the end.
Because I can easily see that taking some time.
Mm-hmm.
I would be comfortable answering questions too for the 2 subcommittees that I was on.
Okay.
I agree.
I'm with it. If Patty, if I'm part of the use of force with Patty, if if he needs backing up, I don't mind speaking. I spoke last city council meeting, so I'll do it again.
Yes, you did. You did. Oh, let me ask you this. Would each subcommittee prefer to address questions at the end of each presentation? Then it's fresh, and then or should we save them all to the end?
I think it might be
Saving them.
difficult to save it all to the end.
I would think saving them to the end.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so with the subcommittees, it would be, if we stuck to like a max 3 minute per presentation, that would be just 18 minutes. And then we could go to the 30 minutes if necessary with questions to the end.
Sure. And I'm not going to sit here with my timer necessarily unless you're going way over and then because I could say, because I'll have the gavel, I don't want to tell any of you that your time's up. I'm going to trust that each of you will have a concise presentation that you can make in give in 3 minutes, give or take.
And I think having questions at the end, it will make it not seem as scatterbrained. Like if you take questions in the middle, it might cause us to lose sight of the whole picture of what we're trying to present. So I'm just saving all questions to the end because somebody else may answer the question they have in their presentation. Who knows?
That is also true. We may end up covering something that somebody was going to present on, and then we're taking their thunder. Everybody
Exactly.
gets to say their business, and then at the end, if there are questions, then the committee can feel free to answer. Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. Okay. All right. So, I know, Mike Sears, you just got on here. What we were talking about was we're going to do the presentation at the first meeting, or rather the next meeting, which is this coming Monday, 7. First item on the agenda is going to be this presentation. Either Councilwoman Berry or I, one of us or both of us, will give a very brief introduction indicating that we've met basically every week since the middle of July, that you've done some great work here, very thoughtful, deep dive, and that we ended up breaking into 6 working groups, and a representative of each working group is going to make a short, approximate 3-minute statement about their recommendations and findings. Now, as I have you down, Mike, as being as reporting out on the reporting and oversight, is that your understanding?
Yes, unless Aaliyah or Odasia wants to help me. But I did present it last week to this group, so if I do something similar, maybe shorter, keep it to 3 minutes.
I don't mind assisting with whatever I missed last meeting, so I'm not sure what you presented. I apologize, but I don't mind helping if you need help.
Okay, we can communicate with each other between now and Monday through email. I feel like that particular subcommittee, there's nothing really controversial, I don't believe, in our recommendations. It's just, let's communicate to the public better what the oversight process is, and let's make sure that everyone in the department, the city's on board with following a process that's going to work, and make sure these things are documented and handled appropriately.
All right. All right. Yeah. And how you make the presentation, if you share slides, I think that's a good idea, and we can do the screen sharing so that you can do that.
Would it probably be best for us to all still use a consolidated slideshow so that we don't have to switch between different documents every 2 minutes or so?
Okay.
I kind of like the way Joe did her 2 subcommittees. She was quick, but there was tons of information in the links.
Mm-hmm.
Like if they want to click on the links to get more details, because we're all capable. I mean, I know I'm a history teacher. I mean, I could probably talk for 30 minutes, but obviously that's not going to be what's appropriate or that anybody wants to hear, for that length of time.
Okay.
Mayor, as a handout to the council people, could we put a list of the Citizen Advisory Committee as one of the things that they receive when they get their packet?
Whether it's in the packet or whether we supplement it. I know that I believe Kelly is going to be working on the packet tonight, and I'm not here right now, but Kelly keeps some odd hours, especially right around this time. It would not be unheard of if she were to show up here at 9 or 10 o'clock tonight and crank it. Those times that council members get their agenda at 1 in the morning, that's what's happening. But yeah, I mean, what I can certainly provide her. I can provide her that list, even now. At the same time, if once the slides are final, I mean, are the subcommittee members, are your slides in final form? Or am I able to? Would I be able to pull those now and put them into the council packet?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And I'll have to look at the Google Drive. Is it clear which ones are those slides? Is there a folder?
I think it's the only PowerPoint, the Google Slides that's
Okay.
in there. I think everything else is either a doc or PDF.
Okay, so the PowerPoint type slides are it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, very good. Very good. All right. So.
I'll put the link, Mayor, in the chat too, if you want to click on that.
Super. Okay, thank you. That's helpful.
It's in the chat now.
Okay. Oh yeah, roll the slides. Okay, super. All right, very good. Then I will go ahead and I'll make sure Kelly gets those here this evening so that we can just add those to the council packet. So they'll have them there. Maybe we'll still screen share them, but council members will have them right there where they can look at them too at their leisure. Okay.
Is everyone clear on who's presenting from the subcommittees?
Yeah, I just want to make sure I can go over that now. I started to go over it, but then I stopped. I have Patty Carlisle doing use of force, Mike Sears doing reporting and oversight, Joe Homan doing non-lethal weapons. Either Sherry Sachs or Crystal Pickus doing the Lexipol communication bridge building. Is it both of you or one of you?
Whatever the group wants.
Okay.
Whatever our group wants, whatever Crystal wants.
Crystal, are you there?
Yeah, I really don't care. I mean, I care about all of this. I'm willing to speak.
Yeah.
I just
I know.
After all that.
Okay. Okay. All right. And well, I could put both your names down. I'm not trying to.
I missed when our group presented to this committee because I had to leave early. So Crystal, maybe you're better than I on this because you got feedback, and I unfortunately had to get off at whatever time that was, 7 o'clock.
Sure.
Like 2 weeks in a row. So I'm glad to help if you need me, but I don't think I have all the information.
Okay.
Well, what I will do is when I will give a memo to council with the slides saying, who the lead presenter will be, but also who the members of the subcommittees were. So it kind of then opens it up so that if somebody, public speaking can sometimes be a little dicey. I'm not trying to put anybody on the spot or make an example out of anybody, but I'm saying if I was making this presentation and I knew that I was working with 4 or 5 or 6 other people and I left something out, I wouldn't feel badly if somebody else said, and one other thing, and then, got that other thing in there.
Right.
Yeah. And if I mention all of you, then it won't seem odd that it won't seem like somebody's speaking out of turn if there's something that somebody adds to supplement. How's that sound?
That sounds good.
And it also emphasizes how this was a group effort, you know.
Right.
So, okay. All right. So Crystal with Sherry and the crew, Sherry and Indira and Sheila and Vincent and Sean.
Right.
On outreach, I have both Patty and Joanna. Joe, did you and Patty work that out? Are you basically presented on it, right? Okay, so I'll put you as lead, and then with the rest of the committee. De-escalation, I have both Neil and Josh, but Neil, I think you were basically leading on. You're going to present on that, right?
Sure, I can do that.
Okay. All right. So, okay. All right. So there'll be a memo in the packet naming all the members of the committee, naming the different members, the members of the various working groups / subcommittees. We'll include the PowerPoint, the slides. We will take them in the order that we went over them on just now. Use of force, reporting, non-lethal, flexible communication, bridge building is the 4th, outreach, and then finally de-escalation is the 6th. And then we'll do questions at the end. Have I left anything out? Is there anything anybody wants to go over?
I just have a question maybe for Councilman Barry. Do you know if Chief Rogers ever followed up with the de-escalation materials that I sent?
I believe he's on in the meeting now, isn't it?
He's on.
Oh, he is. Hi. I'm sorry.
You know that character, Chief Rogers? Has he? Oh, wait, is he here? Oh, hi.
He's here. I mean, muted, but you know, so he's on.
Sorry, what was the question again?
Yeah, there he is. All right.
Just wondering, I know that there was a committee dedicated to working on de-escalation policies, and I didn't know if you also had a chance to follow up with some of the materials I sent to help them and help you depending on the outcome of the presentation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, regarding the email conversation we had, I do have a training lieutenant that's looking into the possible training that's offered through the county. Also, Beechwood Police is currently in between chiefs, and they just recently announced a new chief. And once he gets into that position, I'll be following up with him and some of his experiences that you forwarded regarding training and practicals relating to de-escalation and different types of services. So it is in the process, nothing definitive at this time to report on though. Also, in addition, that type of further de-escalation training would be supplementary to what we already have in place, obviously, through our use of force annual training, and then also other specific related training to de-escalation that occurs at least on a every other year basis to supplement our use of force de-escalation training.
So I guess at some point it might be of interest to that committee. I did not serve on that subcommittee, but to hear a lot, you just said a lot, you know, so that they have some sense of to what extent their questions have been addressed. Just a thought. Thank you.
On a separate note, Chief, did you just say Beechwood did just appoint a new chief?
Yes, it was announced yesterday. The chief of Rocky River, Kelly Stillman, will be the new Beechwood
Oh, wow.
No, I missed that announcement. That's amazing. Wow. Wow. You know, that's you know, I went to high school with the fire chief of Rocky River. So that's I think about them over there, and I had to think for just a moment. It's like, oh, I don't know him. I don't know Kelly Stillman, but that's good for Beechwood. All right. Sorry, Rocky River.
You will be an asset to the region, undoubtedly.
Okay. Well, good. I mean, my experience with working with folks over in Rocky River has all been positive. You wouldn't think that being in University Heights, we do that a lot, but actually we do. We work with people all over town, you know, on various projects. So,
I have a very good relationship with the clerk over at Rocky River.
Oh, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
Yeah, she's a really nice person.
Mm.
Yeah. No, it's people may think that we're individually siloed because there's 59 different communities here, but the reality is that regionalism is alive and well, and we're very interconnected, and we work with people all over the city, all over the county is what I mean, in the greater community. So wonderful that that Chief Stillman will be joining us. All right. Anything else anybody'd like to go over? Any questions, concerns? I see Ron's comment about Rocky River residents. I saw Rocky River because my aunt and uncle lived there all throughout my childhood and when I went into college. So to me, going to Cleveland meant going to Rocky River. And
there's a long. Let's see. When I went to BG, there were some people there who said, "How can I put this in a proper way?" They said when I told them I was from the East Side, they thought that we were like the movie Boys in the Hood or Friday.
Oh no.
I'm like, no, that's not true. But actually, there's another group out there similar in Bay Village, similar to the one we're doing here that I talked to. So there are good people out there. I can't lie.
Well, that's good to hear. Yeah. Well, sorry that was your experience, but
yeah.
Well, all right. Okay. Well, before we go.
Well, next on our agenda is
right.
projects.
Thank you. Yes. I will hold that thought I just had.
The mayor's got an early dinner reservation somewhere.
Right before you came on, I was commenting how my wife Gina has come to expect me to bring home Geraces after this committee meeting, and as I've done every week for the last 6 weeks. And she reminded me, come home with Geraces and don't forget the salad. So the thing is that she's working this evening, so if I get off too early, I'm going to have to wait to order the pizza.
Right.
Right. All right. So that said, one of the things that we added to the agenda for this evening was to talk about the future, beyond Monday's meeting. There were the first reason that I called this committee together was to discuss the use of force policy, but the second reason that Councilwoman Berry and I called this committee together was to go over the list of concerns that she and her fellow African American councilwomen signed off on earlier this summer after George Floyd's murder, and there are some things there yet that we may discuss. And Councilwoman Berry, you probably maybe should take the floor here.
Well, you know what? I need to pull the 6 points back out because I do have it here. But I also met with Chief Rogers, and we talked about going forward with some of the recommendations. I know one of the things that he made very clear to me was that he's going to look at all of the recommendations, but he wants to make sure everything is legal, and has been reviewed by our legal counsel. But I think outside of that, he is open to reviewing the recommendations. Did I summarize our conversation right, Chief?
Yes, Councilwoman Berry, you did. I'd like to re-echo some of that discussion. I will be personally, as well as my administration, reviewing everything that gets vetted through our legal department for consideration, obviously, going forward. More importantly, I think, than just the work that's being done here is that we're all in a position where we are interacting on a regular basis, your law enforcement department, your community, where we can collaborate and share ideas and identify concerns or issues, and even just provide awareness and understanding of not just department operations and procedures, but perspectives from the community that we're providing service to. And if there's obviously a need to continue dialogue between law enforcement and the community to provide a service to. And I think we're really starting a foundation that supports that. And while I'm in this position, I'll always take that responsibility and opportunity for community engagement as a significant opportunity to enhance our services and meet your expectations.
Thank you, Chief.
Very good. Thank you, Chief. One of the things that in bringing up this topic for this meeting and the forward look is that I don't anticipate that we would continue the pace of meeting weekly. I mean, none of the committees at the city do that normally. We were doing this with use of force because there was a certain urgency and also a deadline that I had committed to by taking the My Brother's Keeper pledge to do this. And I appreciate, and also because we did take things at a certain pace and we let it go to where it led to. And I thank all of you for doing that and being with us up to this point. So I guess my sense was to find out your appetite and desire for doing further work based upon Councilwoman Berry's list and figuring out a calendar, a schedule of when we would next want to meet to go over those things and chart where we go from here. We're going to have this council meeting presentation on Monday. When would you like to get together again to talk some more? And at the same time, if you feel like you've had your fill of this, I would understand and thank you for your service, as would Councilwoman Berry. But if you are gearing up to do the next thing, we're happy to have you along, all of you. So open it up to see how you feel.
Mayor, if I could just add a few comments to that discussion.
Yes.
As you're aware, I indicated in my 2019 year-end survey to you, there is a recognized practice, even considered by some a best practice, to obviously have a law enforcement agency that formalizes a relationship with the community, specifically in a community advisory board capacity, where they would be referred to on a as needed basis, depending on circumstances, to assist a police department's administrative responsibilities and for their input to be considered. Again, that process, as I indicated at the end of 2019, is something that is and has been on my radar for implementation. There will be more work done on my end to create and formalize that type of civilian advisory committee and also define the selection process as well as their interaction and input to be considered for certain police department administrative functions. So there will be, from the police department's end at least, more to come on that, specifically that type of committee. And I will involve the community, the council, and obviously the mayor's office as we progress in implementing that type of function.
Okay. That, I didn't want to steal your thunder on that, but I'm glad you brought it up. I know that it is something that's been a long-term goal of yours, Chief, that we have a civilian advisory board, a committee, much like this one, that isn't an ad hoc committee created for one task or another, but is a standing committee that continues to serve and as issues arise. And if we were to form such a committee, I'd be delighted to see so many of the folks here on it. I would think I think everyone here has demonstrated that they'd be worthy for it.
Right.
So I'm glad you brought that up, because this could very well turn into that, with some formalization along the way as far as what we ultimately would want that committee to look like.
How about we meet once a month, and we have regular talks with the police chief, and I really feel it is necessary because, and also maybe other, maybe things we can make sure that whatever is presented at the council meeting on Monday can be slowly but surely integrated into to policies. That's how you work change. You gotta work with it, the system, and try to do the best you can to change it, if that makes any sense.
I also had a question. Councilwoman, are you looking for subcommittees to work on the other points of the promise or pledge that you guys signed? Or would it be like whatever committee we formed would be working through those things? Kind of what was the vision that you had for that?
Well, a number of these points are really not like city points. They're more something that is outside of just University Heights. A few of them, though, I do think that could be discussed in an advisory committee, and
Okay.
how we feel about these points. But I actually, I'm not trying to minimize them, but I actually I am more encouraged by the recommendations that came out of these 6 subcommittees that we have as recommendations. And particularly, I feel like it would be wonderful if we had more of some of the recommendations that came out of outreach, and get a feel for the entire city, and get some feedback and how we could maybe move forward on some of that, because I liked some of the recommendations that came out of that. I liked recommendations that came out of all the committees, but I think for me right now, I want to work with the recommendations that came out of the 6 committees of University Heights. And then I think as we meet or move forward, some of these points that came from the councilwomen will probably be kind of brought in, but only on like a city level, because a number of them are really more global recommendations.
I might be asking Councilwoman Berry, which city council women in which communities, if I could ask?
I have a list here. If in a minute I might be able to pull the letter out. I know it was a councilwoman from Cleveland Heights, Newburgh Heights, Shaker Heights, but it was like at least here. Let me see if I can find it. It was
like Davita Russell in Cleveland.
it was Euclid, Maple Heights, Oakwood Village, Reynoldsburg, Richmond Heights. There was 2 council women from Richmond Heights, one from Shaker Heights, one from Woodmere Village, one from Garfield Heights, Oakwood Village, Reynoldsburg, 2 from Reynoldsburg, and one from South Euclid, one from Warrensville, one from Woodmere Village, and after that, more joined on. That was the initial group.
I have a question about our recommendations from this point forward. So I think we already kind of touched on this, where we wanted to keep meeting in the future, especially with the police department, to see where our recommendations could possibly go. I was wondering if it was possible for us, I'm sure you guys already do this in a way, but like a more citizen-oriented report on the changes that you make with the Lexapol and everything that you make officially to those general orders specifically, and then maybe include a section where you can say, this is what we took from this, our citizen advisory committee or things like that, so that we could see that more officially. That's not the word I want, but I think you guys get what I mean.
Yeah, so from the police department's end, I don't see any concern or reservation about keeping the committee informed on the review process. And if for things that could potentially be implemented, we can have a definitive identifier descriptor indicating it was recommended from the committee as well. That could be a possibility going forward.
Yeah, I would like to see that.
As do I. I would love to see that.
Yeah, I think it would be gratifying, for the committee to see where any part of the recommendation is formally implemented, and then to know that they had a part in this process, and that this is the outcome, this is the result. And I think,
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody understands that not necessarily every recommendation is going to be ultimately implemented, but certainly they will be considered, and surely to the extent that anything is implemented and is made part of the policy, then everybody who took part will want to take ownership of the fact that our police department does reflect our community and has our community's values integrated as part of what our police do. So yes, Aaliyah, that's a wonderful suggestion, and I think we should do that.
I also think it would be good if ideas that we present can't be adapted for one reason or another, that be clarified and explained so that we get a better understanding of what the parameters of these rules are.
I think that's fair. I think that if we're able to do that, we're able to say if something was impractical or not feasible, to be able to discuss that. Okay. And especially since we're going to continue to meet, then there'll be a forum in which to have that discussion.
Right.
All right. Wonderful. Wonderful. So we've been pretty good with Wednesdays. How would you all feel if we were to meet say the third Wednesday of every month? Is that a good time?
Sounds good.
Okay.
Sounds good to me.
Me too.
Because then we don't have to for a couple weeks. We'll have had the council meeting, and then we'll find ourselves back here on looks like the 21st of October.
Oh.
One last thing, with us deciding on that definitively for the people that aren't here, could you possibly send out like an email to the whole group so that we're on the same page and there aren't some of us that come next week wondering where we're all at?
Sure.
I agree with that.
A couple of people whose heart was here but who couldn't keep up, like Reverend Osgood. He loved what we were doing. He's doing so many things in the community. He couldn't make every meeting, and then he felt bad about still being on. And I would have no heartburn over inviting him back if he could make every third Wednesday.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And me as well. I agree with that.
Yeah. Same thing with Facilitate and
Exactly.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, she felt terrible also.
Yeah, I know she did. Yeah. So if a monthly meeting would be something that they could do, would be delighted to have him back. Okay. All right. Well, the thing I started to say earlier that until I was reminded of the agenda is I want to thank you. I want to tell you, I mean, there are a lot of things I've gotten to do as mayor, and I don't know if anything's been more rewarding than being able to sit with all of you and talk about these issues and work together as we have here. It has been, it feels, I think it's the most gratifying thing I've gotten to do as mayor. I can't think of anything that's been more anyway. So I want to thank you for just how seriously you took this, how thoughtful you were about it, and how much, we've worked together up to this point. It is everything I love about this city that we were able to do this. So thank you. Thank you.
And I thank you as well.
Thank you for the opportunity, really.
Thank you.
I agree. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. I've been here for 35 years and glad to give back to the city.
I feel like we're at a crossroads, like the work is just beginning almost,
Yeah.
See how it unfolds.
Yeah.
And we'll have a lot of our questions answered, and
Right.
be better for it.
Yes.
And I also think you'll be able to explain to your neighbors better a lot of things. I know I've learned a lot through these meetings that I probably never would have been able to explain to the neighbors and citizens in the city about our police force and how it works.
Right.
Yeah.
And thank you
a lot more that we understand. Yeah.
And thank you to Chief Rogers and Lieutenant McCarter for being so involved in this.
Absolutely. I didn't mean to leave them out. Absolutely.
No problem at all. It's a privilege. And thanks, Lieutenant McCarter, for making, I think, every single meeting on my behalf.
Yeah, he was at every meeting.
Oh, you're welcome.
Right. Okay. Does anybody have anything further that they want to bring up before we close for the evening? Well, look on, we'll make a point of sending to all of you the council agenda with the link for the council meeting when it's available. And it will also be on the city's website as soon as it's published. It'll be published in the next day or so.
And the packet too will be published.
The packet is also uploaded to the website, so the packet will be there. Yes. And yeah, what was the date again? The date is this Monday, which is the 21st at 7 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a raucous good time. You can.
We won't, Mayor, hopefully it won't be another 3.5-hour meeting.
If it is, you are not obligated.
And you really don't have to stay for it all.
You don't have to stay beyond that part, I mean, we're going to be talking about recycling again, so you might.
Yay!
That's on the agenda, like the second or third item. And
Oh, good. Won't be near the end like the last time.
it was. Well, I wasn't exactly sure where that was going to go, and I think it's all going to work out. But it was,
It was pretty interesting.
I will say this: though there were people I disagreed with, I thought everybody was very thoughtful in where they were coming from. I will say that. I don't happen to think they were. Well, maybe I'll just leave it at that. But everybody was very thoughtful and had good faith, good reasons for why they took the positions they did.
Right.
So, and I'd rather encourage that kind of debate. I think it's good for the public to see that there's a diversity of opinion at times. There have been times when myself and the council have been 100% united front on things of importance, and it's great that we can do that when we can do that. But when there are different points of view, then it's also good that we're able to express them respectfully.
Actually, Mayor, I think that was the first time I've ever seen council really differ on things.
Well, the chicken debate, that was
Oh,
fun.
God, the chicken debate was too funny.
Yes. Councilman Sims and Councilman Hurdle voted against the chickens.
Yes, they were.
But
Yeah.
as I like to say, the sky didn't fall.
Mayor, the sky fell on my neighborhood.
But
As I said, right. As I said in a Facebook post, and I think Gina liked it, and I think you liked it. That was the first time I ever sat on a council meeting for 3.5 hours.
yeah, it's that one was intense. There were a lot of issues that I think people were that were accessible. Sometimes we have to deal with things that are legal and technical and fairly dry, but we had some fun things to talk about last time.
Yeah, like the hip hop at the boil. The hip hop music at the boil.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
believe me, I've been at council meetings for 4 or 5 hours, especially with the McDonald's a couple of years ago. I sat through that whole meeting. And we had to have that meeting in the fire department, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's right. Because space. You needed the additional space. Yeah.
Hopefully one day we'll, like I said, I know I know it's like in early stages, but hopefully that this district will, use Wiley, let us use Wiley, sell Wiley to the city and rebuild our facilities.
Well, that's one possibility. I mean, there's a lot of things that need to be considered with that, and happy to shoot the breeze about that at some point. I will note we're still recording, but I will say also that the school district has to decide first that they are done with Wiley before we can decide to do something with Wiley, and I respect that because it's theirs, and if there's an educational purpose, then they should use it for that, because that's what it was there for to begin with, and they are using Wiley right now, because the thing is with social distancing, with students working from home for the most part, but with difficulties that are sometimes associated with that, they went and took out a permit to reopen Wiley so that students who needed a place to go to distance learn could actually go to Wiley and occupy classrooms and log in from there. I don't know exactly how many folks are actually taking them up on that, but the fact that they had the building available and at their disposal to do that, not every district had a building as good as Wiley ready to go for this event. There are a lot of things about the pandemic that have just changed how we view and use the resources at our disposal. And one of the strangest things that happened, and it's very inside baseball, so excuse me for going there, but for the longest time, one of the bugs about the way our city hall is set up is that this village hall, and it was built in the 1920s, and 1925 the cornerstone was laid, and we have far outgrown it. There are houses that the city owns and other office space that we rent in order to have all the people that work here. Having everybody under one roof would normally be a great thing, but with COVID, having everybody under different roofs is actually smart and works to our benefit, that not everybody sees each other all the time. Being so decentralized has played to our benefit. People been able to work and stay apart from each other. And the fact that our building and housing department is in a house, the fact that our detective bureau is in a house, the fact that our fire administration is in a house, the fact that I mean, it wasn't before, but now it is. With COVID, we moved the fire administration to a house the city just happened to own. And then,
really?
Yeah, and then the fact that we have the annex over there behind like the Rascal House and the barber shop, and fire administration used to straddle there and the firehouse. We moved them over to the house because then our economic development director and our city planner could space out within that space and be safe. So it's played to our benefit that we actually have all these old drafty buildings where we can open windows and be in our own spaces and close doors and be under our own, other cities are actually jealous of this right now. I would never have expected anybody to be jealous of our setup. And yet right now it is king. So I do want a new city hall for this city someday, but right now we're okay. Right now,
as a double Wiley alumni, I'm glad to see that they're using the building still.
Yeah, I'm a Wiley alumni, and I'm glad, and I live right next door.
Mayor, I just got one question, Mayor.
Sure.
The 3 houses next to the building department.
Yes.
Do we own those? Does the city own those?
Yes.
All 3?
Yeah, we own all the way to the corner of Saybrook and Silsby.
Okay.
We bought the house in between the yellow house and the building department house we bought last year.
Okay.
Available.
I'm glad you mentioned the fire department, because I'm seeing the fire chief's car in a driveway that I never saw before. I see him walking out of a house, and I'm saying, what is he doing there?
Yeah. Well, also the two houses next to the park are owned by the city, and also the house behind the service yard is owned by the city. Now we're not
That's where the
using the house,
detective bureau is.
yeah, the house behind the service yard we're not using for anything right now, but we could. And the house that was next to the detective bureau house, we had set up as a quarantine area for COVID. And then once we got other quarantine area space from John Carroll, we converted that house to socially distanced office space so that people could come to work but stay away from people.
Hmm.
How long have we owned these 6 homes?
Well, some of them since before I got here, but the house behind the service yard, the second house next to the park, and the house next to the building department, we purchased since I got here as they become available. This is all a matter of land assembly. If we don't end up with Wiley, the thought here is that if we own enough of these houses, we can build a new municipal campus right here out of what we got.
That would be cool. Yeah.
And the thing is even if we could get Wiley, it might make more sense to keep it where it is anyway, because the land where Wiley is, it's closer to Cedar. It may be more valuable for other development. It may be that the better use isn't for municipal facilities, but we'll see. We'll see where we are.
I understood in regards to our school system that they have fallen underneath in regards to not the school, but the area has fallen in regards to COVID, so that they are eligible to open up. They can conduct classes there. Do you hear of anything that they will be coming back to classes in the very near future?
I can answer. They said the first 9 weeks. I work in education, because I even though I work in Head Start, we deal with Cleveland City Schools. They said the first 9 weeks. So October, most school districts will be back in session. Some kids can opt for the hybrid, for the home instruction on the computer, or they can do the hybrid where they go to school. 2 groups would go to school one day, 2 days a week, and then another group will come in. The other kids will do, online learning. That's how it's going to be in Cuyahoga County, depending on how the numbers are. It depends on if we're still in orange or go down to yellow, it will be. If it's up to red or purple, then they'll probably still be out. But 9 weeks, so October at the earliest.
Because Beechwood the school system is open in Beechwood.
Well, I had heard the same thing, Ron, that the school district basically by going remote was committed to the idea of staying remote for at least the first full 9 week period and not going to make a change before the 9 weeks was up. So I don't know what they're trending towards beyond that 9 week period at this point, but I know that through that first 9 weeks, they are remaining distance learning.
It depends on the numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, it depends. They say it depends on what the Cuyahoga County Board of Health says. That's what they're saying.
That stands to reason too. Yes. The other thing I would say is that you probably all already know this too, but John Carroll did commit to remaining in distance learning through all of fall semester. So they were looking at coming back in late September. Earlier this month, they announced that they were not going to do that. So they are remaining distance learning for the entire fall semester.
Couldn't tell me because I see some parties on Warrensville.
Parties on Warrensville, but classes are all online.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I couldn't tell because literally I've seen parties on Warrensville, and I live on Silsby. There's a house on Silsby in between Belvoir and Milton, and I saw it was people all speeding up there, partying and everything. I was like, the heck.
Yeah, well.
I have a random question.
Sure, Josh.
As far as education goes, like public school education, the Cleveland Heights University Heights School District, the mayor's office and Cleveland University Heights City Council doesn't have any influence or control over that.
Well, you want to know more about the relationship between the mayor's office or the mayor and city hall with the Board of Education?
Yes.
Okay. Formally, there is none when it comes to, they don't answer to me, I don't answer to them. You know, we all have our separate responsibilities. The reality is I talk to Jody Serini all the time, and other members of the school board. She's the school board president, and she also happens to live here in University Heights. So Jody and I are in constant contact. I don't think I've talked to her since last week, but we do talk, and we talk frequently about the issues. And I do from time to time reach out to Liz Kirby as well, but less so, because I also feel like I know how busy Liz is, and I don't want to be bothering her more than I have to. I'm more inclined to pick up the phone and call Liz, or not Liz, rather Jody Serini or Jim Posh or you know, Malia or Beverly or who am I leaving out? Dan. And I'm more inclined to reach out to one of them as a fellow elected official and air a concern. And if there's something we should take to Liz, you know, talk with them about how to do that. I have weighed in both with constructive, well, it's always constructive, but I've weighed in with both positive and constructively critical comments from time to time about various issues. I like our school board members. I think we have an excellent school board. I haven't always been able to say that. I'm happy with the direction that they've been going. I like the new hire with the new superintendent. I feel like the schools are more on track than they've been in some time. I mean, as far as going in the right direction and doing the right things to make the right things happen for our two cities. So, you know, I know that there are certain grievances that go way back. I don't hold against them decisions that previous boards have made that I didn't agree with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, being on this committee has really inspired me in a lot of ways. And one of those ways is to form a relationship with our school board and ask them questions about curriculum and see how that whole process works. So I was just curious.
Okay. Well, what I should do is I should probably formally end this meeting now that we've gone way off the agenda. Off the recording. I know a few people dropped out, and that's okay because the business is basically over. So we will adjourn. I will stop the recording, but we're adjourned.